How did a dense medieval settlement along a winding river become the birthplace of a cultural revolution that reshaped the world? The distinctive terracotta-tiled roofs and massive domes rise above the urban landscape, holding the answer. Intricate white, green, and pink marble geometric patterns reveal a unique Gothic style. This wealth funded an explosion of art and science.
The historic bridges spanning the river were once crowded with butchers before gold merchants took over the shops lining the edges. In nearby northern cities, similar red-tiled roofs fill sweeping bends of rivers, built from local clay. High vantage points offer wide views of the historic centers, where narrow streets and grand squares have hosted civic life for centuries. A massive, ancient amphitheater dominates the urban landscape, constructed from travertine limestone and volcanic tuff. Its weathered stone facade features multiple tiers of arched openings, designed to control the movement of tens of thousands of spectators. Built in the 1st century, this structure hosted public spectacles funded by the spoils of conquest. The extensive archaeological ruins include brick structures that formed the political heart of an empire. As the sun sets, warm light casts soft shadows across the ancient, textured surfaces of the amphitheater. The sheer scale of the building required thousands of laborers and advanced engineering techniques, including a complex system of vaults. Today, lush green trees contrast with the light brown masonry, highlighting the passage of 2 millennia. Standing in the center of Rome, this iconic structure remains a powerful symbol of imperial engineering. Traditional black gondolas navigate narrow, sunlit canals, steered by boatmen using a single long oar. Historic multi-story buildings, painted in varying pastel and earthy tones, line the waterways directly at the water's edge. Weathered wooden mooring posts and stone quays border the rippling water, serving as the primary infrastructure for transportation. Built entirely on a shallow lagoon, this maritime republic grew wealthy by controlling trade routes between Europe and the East. The lack of solid ground forced builders to drive millions of wooden piles into the mud. The dense urban landscape is connected by hundreds of footbridges, with waterways functioning as the main streets. Ornate metal prows on the sleek boats serve as counterweights for the rowers standing at the back. On nearby islands, similar colorful architecture houses centuries-old glass-making traditions along the canal banks. The constant movement of water transport, from traditional wooden boats to modern motor vessels, sustains daily life. Venice relies entirely on these intricate canal networks to move goods, residents, and visitors through its historic center without a single car. Lush, green slopes of the Alps rise steeply from deep blue waters, creating a dramatic natural basin. Picturesque villages nestle along the rocky shoreline, featuring traditional Mediterranean-style villas with terracotta-tiled roofs and light-colored stucco walls. Winding coastal roads hug the water's edge amidst dense forest canopies. The deep glacial origins of this Y-shaped body of water provide a mild microclimate, allowing exotic plants to thrive alongside native alpine vegetation. The steep terrain forces the settlements to grow vertically, with narrow stone staircases connecting the waterfront to the hillsides above. Dense clusters of historic buildings cling to the rocky, tree-covered shorelines. Narrow, stone-paved alleyways step down the steep terrain toward small harbors filled with local boats. The rugged, craggy peaks of the surrounding mountains frame the settlements, protecting them from harsh northern winds. For centuries, aristocrats and silk merchants built grand estates here to escape the summer heat of the cities. Today, this deep alpine lake continues to draw people to its sheltered shores, combining dramatic geography with the elegant, relaxed pace of traditional Mediterranean architecture. A dense cluster of multicolored residential buildings is built directly onto rugged, dark cliffs overlooking the sea. The steep, rocky terrain forces the architecture upward, creating a stacked appearance in shades of pink, yellow, and red. A small harbor and a rocky breakwater extend into the deep water, providing minimal shelter for fishing boats. The warm lights glowing from the houses along the cliffside paths at dusk highlight the challenging geography. Without natural beaches or wide valleys, residents carved terraces into the surrounding hillsides to cultivate grapes and olives. The isolation of this coastal stretch meant access was historically limited to the sea or steep mountain trails. Today, a railway line connects the settlements, tunneling through the solid rock. The colorful facades help fishermen identify their homes from the water, a practical tradition that now defines the visual character of this rugged coastline. As the sun lowers over the Ligurian Sea, the pastel colors of the cliffside dwellings take on a rich, warm glow. The lack of car traffic and the narrow, steep alleys preserves the historic layout of the settlement. Small passenger boats depart from the natural rocky harbor, navigating the clear coastal waters. This village is Manarola, one of 5 tightly linked communities that share this challenging geography, collectively forming the famous Cinque Terre. Another dense cluster of historic buildings features terracotta-tiled roofs in shades of ochre and pink, set against steep forested mountainsides. Narrow, stone-paved alleyways lead down through the settlement toward shimmering blue waters. A prominent stone bell tower rises above the town, marking the central plaza. The architecture reflects centuries of adaptation to the narrow shoreline, where every available flat surface is utilized for construction or small terraced gardens. Shadowed alleyways framed by tall, traditional Italian buildings create natural cooling corridors during the warm summer months. Stone archways connect the structures, providing structural support against the steep incline. The clear, deep waters lap against the stone foundations of the lowest houses. Located on the eastern shore of Lake Como, Varenna historically served as a fishing and quarrying center before its scenic geography made it a key stop on the lake's ferry network. Vast snow-covered valleys and dramatic, rugged mountain peaks dominate the northern horizon. Steep, forested mountainsides are blanketed in winter snow, while narrow hiking paths wind through lush, green slopes covered in dense pine trees. The high elevation creates clear, dark skies, allowing the stars of the Milky Way to move visibly over the dark ridges. After a rainstorm, mist clings to the snow-capped peaks, and emerald valleys shimmer. The weather changes rapidly at these altitudes, shifting from bright sunlight to thick fog in minutes. During winter, slender, leafless trees cast long, dramatic shadows across the snow-covered hillsides. Stretching across northern Italy, the Alps form a massive natural barrier. A prominent white stone Baroque church stands at the entrance to a major waterway, featuring a massive central dome and smaller secondary domes. The historic urban landscape around it is densely packed with terracotta-roofed buildings and narrow alleyways. Weathered wooden mooring posts line the stone quays along the reflective water. Constructed in the 17th century, the church was built as a votive offering to celebrate the end of a devastating plague outbreak. The heavy stone structure rests on thousands of wooden piles driven deep into the unstable lagoon mud. Similar grand religious structures crown hills in northern regions, like a large Baroque basilica with a tall bell tower perched above a fog-covered valley. The massive domes and intricate facades were designed to project power and piety across the landscape. Back on the waterways, large white passenger boats navigate the busy canals under overcast skies. The Basilica di Santa Maria della Salute remains a defining landmark in Venice, anchoring the customs and visual geography of the lagoon city while guiding maritime traffic into the heart of the historic center. Multi-story, pastel-colored residential buildings are perched atop rugged, rocky cliffs, facing the sea. A stone breakwater extends into the deep blue water, topped with a small white lighthouse to guide fishing vessels. A prominent stone railway bridge spans across the back of the colorful buildings, connecting the isolated settlement to larger cities. The harbor is filled with small boats, reflecting a long history of maritime trade and local fishing industries. The high buildings form a defensive wall against winter storms. The densely packed, multicolored buildings nestle closely along the rocky shoreline, utilizing every meter of the narrow coastal strip. At sunset, the warm light enhances the bright yellow, orange, and red facades, originally painted brightly so fishermen could spot their homes through the coastal fog. The pebble beach provides a rare flat space for boats and nets. This is Camogli, a historic Ligurian fishing village that maintains its maritime traditions against a steep geographic backdrop, balancing tourism with its working harbor.
Across a wide lagoon, a dense collection of historic brick-colored buildings and terracotta rooftops covers a long island. A prominent white dome marks a major 16th century church. Far to the south, a massive white marble statue stands atop a steep mountain ridge with its arms outstretched over the coastline. The island settlement relies on a deep water canal separating it from the main historic center. The white stone church was built to fulfill a vow after a plague. Meanwhile, the towering statue on the southern cliffs of Matera faces inland toward the basilica, anchoring the rugged landscape of the Basilicata region. Dense clusters of colorful, multi-story Mediterranean-style houses in shades of pink, yellow, and red cling to a steep, rocky mountainside. The surrounding terraced hillsides are meticulously cultivated with lush greenery, supported by thousands of miles of dry stone walls. Stone-arched viaducts and pedestrian bridges are carved directly into the cliffs to connect the isolated coves. The deep waters of the Mediterranean crash against the rocky base, where small natural harbors provide minimal anchorage. The vertical layout maximizes the limited space available between the water and the sheer drops. A railway line cuts through the solid rock, emerging briefly onto stone arches before disappearing back into the mountain, providing the main transport link for these steep settlements. The tightly packed buildings share structural walls, reinforcing each other against the harsh coastal winds and steep gradients. These 5 historic villages, known as the Cinque Terre, showcase centuries of human engineering required to build and sustain communities on the unforgiving cliffs of the Ligurian coast. The terraced agriculture above them prevents erosion and produces the region's distinct local wines. Dense clusters of Mediterranean-style buildings cascade down steep, rocky cliffs toward a narrow beach. Prominent churches feature tall, multi-tiered bell towers and distinctive tiled domes, reflecting local ceramic traditions. Turquoise waters crash against granite rock formations, carving small coves into the rugged coastline. The architecture features stacked, whitewashed, and pastel houses, connected by steep staircases rather than roads, adapting to the extreme vertical drop of the terrain. The lack of flat ground forces the towns to grow upward, creating a dramatic visual step pattern from the water. The hillside towns rely on terraced gardens to grow lemons and olives on the steep slopes. Harbors filled with docked ferries and small boats serve as the primary connection points for these isolated coastal communities. The rocky shorelines and scattered islands in the distance provide natural breakwaters against the open sea. Towns like Positano and Atroni on the Amalfi Coast demonstrate how steep limestone cliffs were transformed into thriving maritime hubs through centuries of vertical construction, turning a harsh geographic barrier into one of the most recognized coastlines.
Traditional Mediterranean houses, painted in bright shades, are built directly into the rocky terrain, perched high on a rugged cliffside overlooking the sea. Unlike neighboring coastal villages, this settlement lacks direct water access, sitting roughly 300 feet above the waves. Winding asphalt roads hug the lush green cliffsides, providing a narrow land route. The high rocky promontory is surrounded by terraced vineyards and olive trees, cultivated on steep slopes using ancient dry stone techniques. The village layout features narrow alleys that provide shade and direct the sea breeze. The agricultural terraces require constant maintenance to prevent landslides, representing generations of intensive labor. At golden hour, the warm light illuminates the stacked architecture against the dark rock and green vegetation. This is Cornelia, the only village of the Cinque Terre built entirely on a cliff, rather than in a coastal cove, relying on agriculture rather than fishing. The surrounding hillsides are covered in Mediterranean scrub and carefully tended grapevines that produce local white wines. A white car navigates the winding coastal road, highlighting the challenging topography that keeps the area relatively isolated. The steep drop to the turquoise water below emphasizes the defensive advantage of building high on the cliff. Cornelia's elevated position offers sweeping panoramic views of the entire rugged coastline, stretching to the north and south. A thick blanket of mist covers rolling green hills and a vast mountain valley where evergreen trees break through the fog. The rugged, rocky mountain ranges are illuminated with a warm, reddish alpenglow at sunrise, highlighting the sheer vertical faces. Vast, rolling alpine meadows display rich, autumn-colored foliage, contrasting with the pale rock. The unique geology of these peaks, formed from fossilized coral reefs, creates jagged, tower-like formations that stand distinct from the surrounding slopes. The high-altitude terrain shifts dramatically from soft, grassy pastures to sheer vertical drops. During summer, dramatic clouds catch the warm colors of the setting sun, reflecting in serene alpine lakes. In autumn, rustic wooden cabins sit among frost-covered meadows as the larch trees turn golden. When winter arrives, snow caps the jagged peaks, and dense, dark green coniferous forests cover the lower slopes. These are the Dolomites, a distinct mountain range where the pale magnesium-rich rock creates sharp visual contrasts with the deep green valleys below. The changing seasons drastically alter the landscape, dictating the rhythm of agriculture and travel in the high passes. The sheer rock walls and deep, narrow valleys create complex weather patterns, often trapping thick white clouds below the sunlit ridges. The vertical drops and isolated plateaus make the terrain difficult to traverse, historically limiting settlement to the lower valleys. At sunrise, the warm light strikes the highest peaks first, slowly moving down the limestone faces. The unique geological composition and dramatic erosion of the Dolomites produce some of the most striking alpine landscapes in Europe, drawing climbers and skiers to the challenging high-altitude environment.
Ancient stone ruins and fortified towers sit atop a steep cliffside, guarding a narrow harbor filled with boats. Dense clusters of colorful Mediterranean-style houses line the waterfront, built tightly together for protection and structural support. The historic brick and stone architecture features crenellated walls and small arched windows, designed to repel maritime attacks. These coastal fortresses were constructed by powerful maritime republics to defend strategic trade routes and natural anchorages along the rocky coast, controlling access to the inland valleys. The rugged coastline features historic churches perched on rocky promontories jutting into the sea, doubling as watchtowers. The multi-story houses are painted in shades of yellow, pink, and orange, standing out against the gray rock and deep blue water. The defensive walls step down the steep hillsides, connecting the high castles to the harbors below. The Doria Castle in Vernazza and the fortifications of Porto Venera illustrate the intense military history of the Ligurian coast, where maritime security was essential for survival. A massive Gothic cathedral, constructed entirely from white marble, dominates a bustling urban plaza. The structure features hundreds of intricate pointed spires, flying buttresses, and detailed facade carvings. A central golden statue stands atop the highest spire, gleaming above the dense cityscape. The surrounding square is filled with pedestrians and pigeons, serving as the civic and geographic center of the city. Construction on this architectural massive undertaking spanned nearly 6 centuries, requiring a continuous supply of marble transported via a network of canals built specifically for the project. The elaborate white marble exterior requires constant maintenance to combat natural weathering and modern urban pollution. Surrounding historic buildings with uniform rooflines frame the square, contrasting sharply with the cathedral's jagged, highly vertical profile. As twilight approaches, the warm golden lighting illuminates the intricate stonework against the darkening sky. This monumental achievement of Gothic engineering reflects the historical wealth and ambition of northern Italy's commercial center. The vast interior space was carefully designed to hold thousands of worshippers, serving as a powerful symbol of local civic pride. A prominent multi-tiered dome with blue-tinted windows and a tall, ornate bell tower rises above a historic hilltop town. The dense, multi-layered cluster of ancient stone dwellings features terracotta-tiled roofs built directly into the steep, rocky terrain. The architecture relies on local limestone, giving the buildings a uniform, earthy tone. The complex layout of narrow, winding streets follows the natural contours of the hill, creating a compact and highly defensible urban center. In other regions, grand cathedrals anchor wide, flat urban squares surrounded by neoclassical architecture. But in the steep southern hills, Baroque churches like the Cathedral of San Giorgio in Ragusa are built on elevated terraces, dominating the skyline. Further east,
Ancient stone dwellings are carved directly into limestone ravines, creating multi-layered cities of caves and stone facades. These diverse settlements show how religious architecture and urban planning adapt to extreme geographic constraints. Coastal towns feature dense clusters of historic stone buildings, with terracotta roofs squeezed between sandy beaches and massive rocky headlands. Inland, major cities showcase massive terracotta domes and tall, square campanellis rising above the river valleys. The intricate white, green, and pink marble geometric patterns of the facades stand out against the uniform red roofs. Whether perched on a cliff or sitting in a valley, the monumental architecture highlights the historical wealth of the region. A picturesque crescent-shaped beach curves along a calm bay, lined tightly with colorful Mediterranean buildings. The sandy shoreline provides a rare protected area for swimming and mooring small boats. The narrow peninsula extends into the deep blue water, separating this quiet cove from the rougher sea on the other side. Historic stone buildings and former monasteries are situated on the rocky points, overlooking the numerous sailboats and yachts anchored in the sheltered water. The lack of heavy wave action allows buildings to stand just feet from the sand. The dense coastal settlement occupies every single meter of the narrow isthmus, with pastel-colored facades facing the water. The calm, dark blue water reflects the lights of the anchored vessels as evening approaches. The distinct geography of the two bays created a natural choke point, maintaining a quiet atmosphere, completely separated from the main commercial port on the other side of the peninsula. The clear blue waters and sandy beaches contrast with the rugged, rocky coastline typical of this region. Small fishing boats are pulled directly onto the sand, maintaining traditional practices amidst modern recreational vessels. The tight integration of the town with the water highlights the essential relationship between the Ligurian people and their coastal environment. The enclosed nature of the bay protects the shoreline from severe winter storms, allowing the historic architecture to survive intact right at the edge of the Mediterranean Sea. A crescent-shaped bay is filled with numerous luxury yachts and small wooden boats, sheltered by lush, tree-covered hillsides. Bright, pastel-colored buildings line the bustling harbor, featuring green shutters and painted architectural details. Weathered stone quays with rusted iron mooring rings edge the calm, turquoise water. The steep slopes surrounding the cove are dotted with Mediterranean villas and terraced gardens, hiding the settlement from the open sea. The narrow inlet provides deep water anchorage, making it an ideal natural harbor. The dense vegetation of pine and olive trees grows right down to the rocky shore, framing the bright yellow, pink, and orange facades. The lack of wide roads keeps the waterfront focused entirely on maritime access. This historic fishing village, Portofino, leveraged its protected geography to become a highly strategic port before transitioning into a renowned center for maritime leisure. The natural curve of the land protects the anchored vessels from the prevailing winds sweeping across the Ligurian Sea. Small motorboats and traditional fishing vessels share the limited space with large yachts. The multi-story houses share structural walls, built directly on the bedrock to maximize the narrow strip of flat land. During the golden hour, the low sun casts deep shadows across the hills, while illuminating the waterfront facades. The strict preservation of the harbor's architecture and layout maintains the visual character of this iconic Ligurian coastal retreat, preventing modern expansion from altering the historic skyline. An iconic cluster of tall, stone-built defensive towers rises above a medieval hilltop town. The dense collection of terracotta-roofed buildings is nestled within a rolling, verdant landscape of agricultural fields. The rustic, earthy tones of beige, brown, and orange reflect the traditional masonry constructed from local limestone and brick. The towers were built by rival noble families, serving as both fortified strongholds and visible symbols of wealth and political power. During the twilight hours, the vertical profile of the stone towers stands in stark contrast to the low, horizontal lines of the surrounding hills. In the early morning, layers of soft, ethereal mist cling to the valleys, isolating the hilltop settlement. The town's elevated position provided a crucial defensive advantage and clear sightlines over the trade routes below. San Gimignano preserves its medieval skyline, representing the intense factional conflicts that shaped the region's history. Massive red brick fortifications and a prominent central clock tower anchor a historic fortress surrounded by green parkland. The defensive architecture features thick, crenellated walls, dry moats, and small arched windows designed for archers. The expansive green parks adjacent to the walls contain winding gravel pathways and central ponds. Set against a dense urban cityscape, the sprawling brick complex served as a military citadel and a ducal residence for centuries. The circular brick towers at the corners provided overlapping fields of fire to defend the high walls. The central tower, rebuilt with ornate detailing, marks the main entrance over the former drawbridge. The surrounding lawns and tree-lined paths of Parco Sempione replaced the former military parade grounds. The Scorza Castle remains a massive monument to the military engineering and political power of the dynasties that controlled northern Italy during the Renaissance. Massive, jagged limestone peaks dominate the alpine skyline, their vertical rock faces rising abruptly from the surrounding slopes. The steep, weathered walls display distinct horizontal strata, with large scree slopes of loose rock accumulating at their bases. A vast, snow-covered mountain range stretches out beneath a cloudy sky. The pale rock composition contrasts sharply with the white snow and the dark valleys below, a result of ancient coral reefs pushed upward by tectonic forces over millions of years. The grassy alpine plateaus at the base of the rock walls feature prominent mountain refuge buildings, essential for navigating the harsh terrain. At sunrise, the warm light hits the eastern faces, turning the pale limestone a brilliant orange and red. The sheer verticality of these three distinct peaks makes them a prominent landmark. The Tre Cime di Lavaredo represent the dramatic erosion and unique geological history that define the jagged profile of the Dolomites, attracting climbers from around the world. A sweeping panorama reveals misty, rolling green hills dotted with isolated stone farmhouses. The landscape is characterized by geometric patterns of green vegetation and brown earth, representing meticulously planted vineyards and olive groves. Paved and dirt roads are flanked by rows of tall, slender cypress trees, acting as windbreaks and property markers. Rows of grapevines stretch toward the horizon, following the natural contours of the hills to maximize sun exposure. A white camper van travels along a scenic road, navigating the vast agricultural estates. In the gardens of rustic villas, gravel pathways lead through lush green metal archways covered in climbing vines. This is Tuscany. An ornate glass and steel dome covers a massive cross-shaped shopping arcade. The intricate iron framework supports large glass panels, flooding the interior with natural light. The architecture features painted frescoes, intricate mosaics, and neoclassical details above grand multi-story archways. The covered street connects two major civic squares, providing a sheltered public space. Constructed in the late 19th century, the structure represents a triumph of industrial-era engineering and urban planning. From the ancient stone bridges spanning the Tiber River to the glass-domed arcades of Milan, the drive to build and beautify has always defined this peninsula. The wealth that sparked the Renaissance in Florence eventually funded the grand engineering projects of a unified nation. Under the glass vaults of the Galleria Vittorio Emanuele II, a bronze equestrian statue of a king watches over the marble floors, anchoring a modern city built on centuries of ambition.